Hi everyone, my name's Jess. I am here at McCullough Library showing you how to make winter solstice lanterns. It's the next project in our Foraging for Our Home series, where I go outside and I collect different elements that you can use as decor in your home. You can see here I have taken wax paper and sandwiched some leaves that I dried and flattened over time to make these pretty little lanterns. So basically what I've got here is I've got about 8 different leaves in front of me. They come from all different trees, even some holly bushes that I got some leaves from. But basically what I did is I found the leaves I wanted to use, lined some really big books with paper towels, and just pressed them for a few days until they got nice and flat. What I have also done here is I have cut 4 5x10 pieces of wax paper. Those are going to make up your 4 sides of your lantern, but keep in mind you can use any size you want. If you want tall and skinny lanterns, you can do that. If you want short lanterns, you can do that. I just went with what was easiest and went with a square. So I will show you how to do that now. Basically, what I do first is I just take my rectangular piece of wax paper and then I fold it in half as best as I can. And you want to make a nice crease. You just fold it in half, and those act as your 2 panels that you can just sandwich your leaves in between. So I'm going to fold all 4 of my panels in half first. And I collected these leaves really from all over. I have a little dog that I go on walks with, and during the peak time of the season when all the leaves were really, really pretty and they're starting to fall, I just took a little Ziploc bag with me on one of my walks and picked out a few that I thought were pretty. So it's really easy to do. You basically just have to keep an eye out on the trees and see when the colors look really, really nice, and just go and pick some up off the street. I mean, most of your neighbors will probably be grateful that you're picking some of their leaves up for them. So it's really just whatever you think is pretty and whatever you'd like to use to work with. So now I have 4 panels, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a selection of leaves, which I've picked out some here, and I am going to just sandwich them in between my panels. So here I'm going to do one kind of bigger leaf on the bottom, and I'm going to try just this cute little holly leaf, just to have a little bit of greenery. So we're just going to do 2. Nothing too crazy. I don't want it to get too crammed in there, because you'll see once you iron this wax paper together, it can get a little difficult to crease it and iron it nice and tight. So sometimes there's little bubbles and gaps that you'll find. But that, again, is the nature of nature. So that's what we're dealing with here. So what I've got here is I have got my iron turned on. So I have decided to set my iron to a medium level. That way it doesn't get too hot. So I put this iron on a silk setting. That should be good for what you're doing here. So now that I've got my leaves arranged in the panel the way I want, I'm just going to take my iron and then just iron really quickly over top. And you'll see that the way the wax kind of seals down on itself, it just kind of melts a little bit. It doesn't get on your iron or anything like that. It's just that heat of the iron just makes the wax paper cling to itself. And if you are doing this with any youngsters at home, I would recommend adult supervision on the ironing part, just in case. But now you can see, you can kind of see, I'll give you a nice little close-up when it's all done. But you've just got two perfectly little preserved leaves sealed in between the wax paper. So I'm going to go ahead and do that 3 more times so I can get the rest of my square situated. And again, it's just whatever you think will look pretty. You do not want to put too many leaves between one set of your panels, because then the wax paper will have a hard time sealing. So I have learned that after making a few of these this month. You just want to kind of keep it a little bit spaced out, that way the wax paper will seal and you don't have too many gaps. But it is what it is. It's not going to be completely perfect and it's not going to be completely smooth, so don't worry about it. All right, now I've got 2 pretty cute, wonderful little panels. All right, now on this one, I'm going to get some more holly leaves in here. I have noticed that the thicker the leaf, the harder it is for the wax paper to seal. So if you have some leaves that have stems on them, just be ready to possibly run into some issues of getting that wax paper to fully connect to itself. Just the thicker the material is that you're trying to iron in between, the more difficult it is to get it nice and flat. So here's another one. Wonderful. We're almost done with this part. Now this one, I might have a little bit of an issue because this is a pretty thick stem. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snip it right off. That way I don't run into any problems. Another thing that you can keep in mind is if you have a thicker part of your leaf, you might want to aim that more towards that seal, that folded part of the panel, because that might help it stay intact. All right, this is my last one. You may also want to try making like circular type shapes, cylinder type shapes, that might work. You can take a much bigger piece of wax paper and put more leaves in it that way, and then maybe see if you like that better. And then when you're done, you can just roll it up into the shape that you want. So that would be nice. It's all about playing with the materials that you find. So here I am. I have all of my panels ironed together. And again, this is a 5 by 10 inch piece of wax paper that I folded in half. All right, now I think for this part, this is where you really want to pay attention to how you lay out your panels. What I would recommend is just making sure that the parts that you want to be on this outside are all consistent throughout. So you just want to get all of your sides laid out the way that you want. So I think I've got that laid out here. We'll flip that one around. That looks better that way. And we'll flip this one around. So now they're all front to front. And what I would also recommend is doing your folded edges, where you folded them originally, just having those all be at the same, either the top or the bottom. Just because even though I did use a mat cutter or a rotary cutter and a mat with a ruler, sometimes the edges just aren't perfectly straight. So it's nice to get that more consistent look on the one side, and then you can kind of just go from there. Okay, so I've got all my panels lined up the way I want, and now we just need to assemble. So for assembly, I just take Scotch tape, that kind of matte Scotch tape, not that invisible tape, because it kind of blends in with the wax paper. You just edge up your panels, if you can see. Just try and edge them up as close as you can, and then you seal off that angle. So you just want to kind of try and make it as straight as you possibly can. Take your tape and then just go ahead and press it down. And there we go. You can see I've got the tape on the one side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this leftover remaining tape and just fold it over. Just to kind of give that extra seal. All right, so now you've got two parts of your sides of your cube, or your lantern, shall I say. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reinforce that crease, fold it back over, make sure that's a nice established crease, and then go on to the next panel. So I'm just going to scooch it all back together, line it up as closely as I possibly can. Again, it's not going to be perfect. Take your tape, center it, and you will find there's like a little bit of a static electricity between the wax paper and the tape, so try not to get flustered. It is what it is. All right, now I've got that one. So now you can see I've got 3 panels. I'm securing the tape again. 3 panels. Wonderful, wonderful. And now I am going to seal it off again. So, looks like I made a little bit of an error. I taped over the one side because I like things to be as consistent as possible. You don't have to take that back apart, but I just folded the edge of my tape the wrong way. But once the candle's lit, you won't really be able to notice it at all. So it's really just your preference. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that the way it is. And I'm just going to reinforce that fold. So now we have 3 panels. Now I'm going to take my last panel, edge it up against that former one, or that previous one, as best as I can. And tape it on down. And again, just take the top of your tape here and fold it right over. Try and get it as even as you can. Just to sort of reinforce that crease. Then just go ahead and fold it again. Fold all your sides again. And you've got 4 panels in one nice long line. So now the last thing to do is just connect this side with this side. What I have been doing is just trying to fold each side panel over and line it up as best as I can. This is going to be the hardest part to tape just because everything's not exactly even. And what I like to do is I like to just put a little bit of the tape halfway through the long edge of the tape. You can see here. Just want to kind of line it up as best as you can. And then just tape it all together. And the beauty of wax paper is you're going to get that kind of crepe fabric-like feeling. It's not going to be perfectly smooth. It has its little flaws. But I think it looks really cool. So I've got all my panels taped together, and now I am just going back through, creasing over those edges again, making it nice and crisp. And then you have your lantern. Now it may not look like much in the daytime, but go ahead and show you. throw that sucker over a candle, and voila. So pretty. Again, you can just use any leaves you want. You really just want to be aware of the thickness of the leaves once they're pressed. If they're too thick, you'll just need bigger wax paper panels, and that way that wax will seal on nicely. But yeah, my favorite part of this project was, again, just walking around outside and looking for stuff that I can use that I thought was already beautiful. So voila! Thank you for tuning in.